All right, guys, welcome to the closing table. My name is James Lutz with Mortgage One Keystone, and I'm going to be sitting down with some of the top professionals in the real estate industry in our area here in Metro Detroit. And we're going to be figuring out all the stories and the behind the scenes action that goes into putting these deals together. My first guest today is a big one, very important. I've got a great intro written down for him, so bear with me. We've got somebody that many agents across Metro Detroit already know very well. John Reusch from Keller Lakeside. And John has built his reputation not only as a real estate leader, but someone focused on coaching, growth, culture, and helping agents level up both personally and professionally. We're going to be talking about what's going on in today's market, what separates top producers from everybody else, leadership, mindset, and some of the lessons he's learned being in the business for so many years. John, welcome to the closing table.
James, thanks so much. It's so nice of you. And let me know who I owe some money to for that warm intro. That was really nice.
Yeah, you're looking at him.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So I always want to start whenever I talk to agents, whether it be in this setting or just over coffee and to get to know them. How'd you get your start? When was the start? And what led you to the real estate industry?
Wow, great question. As I like to ask, the greatest profession on the planet. So I've been in the industry, September of 2026 will be 10 years. So I'm knocking on 10 years in the industry. It's kind of an interesting story, but the short of it is I was in my mid-20s and I had gotten my master's degree. I had left Central Michigan University, I was working at Oakland University, and I had a caseload of about 300 students as I was advising. I worked with like financial aid. I was recruiting into the university and then doing like academic advising, and I taught classes. I worked with undecided freshman students on, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? And I feel like it was a cross between not being paid maybe the limitless opportunity one might hope, right? Yep. I was making $40,000 a year, and I just felt like I was called to do more. And then number two, I started to realize that I could make an impact in different ways. Like I didn't have to be in an education setting to be a teacher, right? So I started Googling top career corporate training opportunities. I'm a public speaker. I've been blessed with my career to speak.
So you didn't follow family into it or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
In fact, I was told not to buy rentals. I was told not to get into real estate. But loved my parents dearly. Both of them had 40 plus year careers in one or two segments, right? Private industry or government, not in real estate. So long story short, I saw Keller Williams kept popping up as the top training and development company on the planet.
Okay. They do have that.
Yeah. And I was like, wow, that's cool. And then I didn't have the greatest experience when I was buying my first property. I won't name the brokerage or who I worked with, but I wasn't in real estate yet. And so I said, you know what? Why don't I get my license or get into the industry? 70+% of the wealth in this country is tied into real estate somehow.
Yep.
And that will give me kind of something to fall back on in case, higher education doesn't fulfill me long term.
What'd you get your master's in?
Educational leadership, with a focus.
Makes sense.
Yeah, with a focus in business development and in business. So, So I ended up jumping full time into real estate in September of 2016. I was the team leader, right into the team leader seat at Keller Williams Lakeside.
Really?
Never sold a home. Didn't even have my real estate license at the time. And
your resume spoke for itself, and they said, let's do it.
Well, Dave Claft and the investor group there and the ALC, which is the Agent Leadership Council, I had to present in front of them and go through a very lengthy hiring process, and they took a shot. And I think it panned out for them and for me.
Wonderful. Now, have you always been with Keller Williams, or have you tested the waters elsewhere? I've
always been with Keller Williams. I get interviewed and recruited all the time. But I've been with Keller Williams now approaching 10 years, and I believe it's one of the best places you can be for the agent.
I don't doubt that. I've been part of your guys' culture and team here through Mortgage One, and it is like nowhere else as far as the training and the actual care that you get. Because I remember, if you're a new agent, you are a fish out of water, you are confused, you're scared, and you have to have leadership, mentors, people that you can fall back on. Yeah. Let's talk about something that not a lot of people want to talk about, mistakes that you've made as you've learned and came in through the business, and things that, a new agent or somebody can relate to or learn from and hopefully not make that mistake.
Yeah, I think the two that jump out, I fail forward every single day. I'd say the first is I actually let my first assistant go over text message. I got a message stating it was a late Sunday night, and it was basically like, "Hey, I'm not feeling well. I'm not coming in." And this had been bubbling up. There had been some other things, and
Right.
so I just texted, said, "Why don't you just not come in again?" That wasn't very good. That was a huge mistake, and I learned from that, which kind of ripples into number two. Picking up the phone, looking somebody eyeball to eyeball, talking to them face to face or over the phone, hearing the tonality. Any mistake that's ever happened always boils back down to I could have probably communicated that better.
Yeah.
That wasn't your intent. That wasn't my intent. And so, yeah, I mean, there's a laundry list of those examples, but yeah, that was not a good move.
Yeah, going
And
back to the
one I
text
regret.
messaging and looking eye to eye, especially for myself in the mortgage industry, you guys are with our customers, our buyers and sellers a lot. You guys get to form that relationship and learn all
That's
the
right.
ins and outs of their lives and what makes them unique. And that's how obviously you connect with them because it's a relationship, not a transaction business. I liked it in the old school days where I had to have people come in and go over their application disclosures, sign things by hand. Technology is great and it does make our lives a little bit easier, but I do miss having that personal interaction from being on the mortgage end. So
Yeah, I think technology is going to continue to be a part of everything we do every single day, right? Like if Henry Ford always said, if you ask the people what they wanted faster horses. And so I think we can all agree that, him developing and accelerating the growth of the assembly line for the car benefited our world on a massive scale. However, just like whether it's e-signatures or AI or any sort of technology in our business today, the face-to-face, this is the number one asset somebody's purchasing. They're doing it less than 10 times typically in their life, maybe even 5 times.
Yep.
And we may be doing it weekly or every other day. And we need to remember that we need to slow down and be face-to-face and support them through the process, because especially right now with all the different things going around in the world and where rates are and all these different factors, people are looking for leadership. And in the absence of true value, people mistake who's loudest on social media for the truth.
amen.
So
Amen. I see that a lot. Let's talk what separates agents that are going to succeed long-term versus those that just burn out.
it's a good question. Agents get in, typically, you rarely find an agent in high school or going, in college that says, I want to be a realtor.
Yep.
Okay. So they typically come into real estate as a second option or a second career or an addition, and they want freedom, flexibility, and financial independence. Those are the 3 top themes when I'm interviewing an agent. And unfortunately, they focus too much on freedom and flexibility,
Yep.
and they never see the financial independence. So here's my number one thing that a real estate agent should be doing in their first couple of years. Treat it like a 9 to 5 or more.
Absolutely.
Show up every morning, stay, work on lead generating, setting lead follow-up appointments, going on those appointments, looking over your contracts, mastering
How
kind of.
important is it to be around the office, not just working at home 9 to 5?
I think it's more important today than it's ever been. We have
you.
distractions. We have distractions pinging our phone. I mean, both you and I just put our phone down for this podcast. I can guarantee you by the end of it, we're going to have multiple, like 30, 40, 50 notifications from,
Yep.
5 emails, 10 texts,
I've never used my do not disturb. I had to today just because.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say that if you're not in an environment where you're being shown how to have structure around lead gen and setting appointments and writing contracts and knowing what to say and how to address it, that you're just setting yourself up to ultimately either fail faster or succeed despite all these obstacles that are in your way that don't need to be there.
Absolutely.
And so that's what we really focus on at Keller Williams. At Lakeside, at Keller Williams Domain, we focus on, you get a mentor, you have a coach. We are lead generating and dialing multiple times a week. We do pizza and prospecting. We do these different events. And I have agents who have come up to me a year later, 3 years later, and said, I wouldn't still be here if it wasn't for what you guys provided. And I said, that's what it's all about right there.
And that's part of the culture at Keller Williams Lakeside. And even on my end, being a new mortgage loan officer 15 years ago, like you said, being in the office and I would honestly just sit there, and if I wasn't making a phone call, I'd be listening to one of my bosses or managers. I'd just be listening to how they spoke to people, what they said, I literally knew nothing back then. And it was really nice to have that. And again, you got to be there. You have to be in the office, be present with your team, and soak up all of that environment. You can't do that at home alone.
Must be present to win, right?
Amen. Let's see, John, what do you think new agents, you kind of already answered this, but what do they misunderstand the most about the business? You know, here's what they think before, and then they get in and they are blindsided and shocked by.
I think a lot of folks, and this is maybe even pushes out to the consumer too a little bit, that it's easy.
Yeah, HDTV makes it look that way.
Yeah, well, and we don't do ourselves any favors talking about potential commission and other things we could earn.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, years ago, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book from Gary Keller looked at all the things an agent does in a typical transaction. There's 192.
Jeez.
192 steps. And 8 of them are tied to payment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what I would say is I think a lot of new agents think it's going to be super easy, that leads will abound. And what they don't maybe fully understand is every business is a lead gen business. We just happen to be in real estate.
Yeah.
So I always say you wouldn't go to Costco if the shelves were empty. So what are we doing to add to your shelves? Listings or a buyer base that you can bring to open houses and say, hey, this might be an opportunity for you. Does anyone else have something similar to this product that's clearly being for sale with this open house? But hey, there's 10 other homes that match the criteria in a 2-mile radius. Maybe they're looking to sell.
Yeah.
So I think that's what a lot of people miss is you are in a relationship. You're playing connection.
Yeah.
You're trying to help play matchmaker, and it's not just around I'm selling over the rate or I'm selling to make more money. I mean, it's the D's of real estate, right? Death, divorce, disabled. I mean, all these different things that lead to somebody making a decision to make a move up or a move down in their real estate goals.
Yep. And one thing that you had touched on earlier, which I think is super important, is motivation. You have to have, I think it takes in our business, somebody that has that it factor, that self-motivation, because that's what I said when I was new. I looked around me and I said, wow, these guys are making a lot of money, and I don't know what it is yet, but I can do that.
Yeah.
And I knew that going in, and I set a realistic expectation for myself. I said, talk to Doug. I said, Doug, generally, how long do you think it takes to kind of make it? Because I was still working in restaurants at night. And he said, typically 3 to 5 years. So then I gave myself the proper expectation and mindset, and without being self-motivated, which I was I don't know if it's like a genetic thing or what, but I was always very self-motivated, and I didn't need a manager or boss telling me to pick up the phone and dial, or, hey, go pass out these flyers, go do these open houses, go do this. I think that's a huge thing that a lot of agents, like you said, they misunderstand. They see all the money and they see the glam and the glitz, but if you don't wake up every day with the mindset that I am broke, I don't care how many millions you got. If you got to wake up pretending like you're broke and you got to eat and you just got to show up.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a lot of people that's how they burn out. They realize it's not easy. It's very difficult to be good in real estate.
Well, it's people burn out when their accepted demands outweigh scheduled recovery time.
What does that mean? Expand on that for somebody who doesn't quite understand.
Your plate's only so big, and so we keep going back for seconds and thirds, and you haven't even finished what's on the plate. And so in the example of that is you may be taking on all these things, go to these conferences, go to this networking, go to the happy hour, you're running ragged, going to open houses, trying to find some sort of business when it's probably not the right thing to put on your plate, and also your plate's only so big.
Yeah.
And when you start to find success, do you schedule time off so you can recharge the cup? And too many folks, I'm just as guilty of this, say yes, 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 yes. And then you wake up and you're like, wait a minute, 6 months flew by and I haven't had a day off yet.
Yeah. I haven't closed much yet. Like I'm doing
just
all this
busy.
work.
They mistake business for busyness.
Yeah.
There's one letter difference in how those are spelled, busyness versus business.
Yep.
Business is truly having a clear outcome of where you want to go, how you're going to get there, and that you aren't going to do it alone.
Okay. And what do you do personally as a leader? How do you keep people motivated, or how do you get them there?
Oh, that's a great question. I do a lot of one-on-one sit-downs with some of the top agents in my network.
Yeah.
And I know their kids' names. I know their goals. I know what vacation they want to take.
That's important because everybody's got different motivating factors, and it's up to you to find them, dig them out.
Quarterly, we look at people's production and say, wow, you're down or up 30% from this time last year. Is that by design? Are you good with that? How can I support you? Team meetings and trainings. I probably teach 3 times a month across different locations on mindset, goal setting, your approach, your communication styles, making your first impressions. So just trying to get out in front of the agents and get a pulse of, how they're feeling and how the market feels and what the sentiment is right now. I mean, right now it is the thick of the spring market, right? It is busy and it's cooking. But there are agents that are having their slowest start to the year.
Yeah.
You
are an operating principal, correct?
Yes.
An OP.
Yeah.
What does your day look like? What are your job description, if you will? Like what is your job as the OP?
So the typical broker owner of a company, pick any model.
And is OP different from just a guy who's like, I'm the broker of this office?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. It is different. So that's what. So the typical guy or gal running a ship, is going to have. They're the broker, they're the owner, they're probably selling their own real estate, they're trying to lead their management team, they're, if there's a complaint, they're taking those complaints, they're doing all these things. And Keller Williams believes in specializing the lanes of what people focus on, right? Because what you focus on expands.
Okay.
So the operating principal is elected, or if it's a one-person ownership group, me, myself, and I, right? But they're typically elected by an investor group to cast the vision, hold the team accountable, hiring, firing, direction of the company, and then sort of capital, right? Social capital, so relationships, networking, and then bringing capital to the company through investments, through, structuring a growing office. So my typical day is I'm on the phone a lot, starting at 7:30, 8 a.m. I'm having text and calls come in. That happens all day. And then I meet with executives from the different operations, my team leaders around the growth of the company, both internal with our top agents growth and external through recruiting, the brokers on compliance, forms, issues, potential lawsuits, what's pending, the attorney a couple times a week around different items. So you're really kind of running the C-suite. And then I'm on regional and international calls talking with KWI execs and regional executives.
Yeah.
And so you're just you're the captain, right? You're battening down the hatches when the ship's in rough seas. If it's calm, you're fishing as much as you possibly can to catch, and just making sure our agents have the information, the data that they need to go out in front of their sellers and buyers at a high level and cultivate relationships and get those contracts signed.
That's what I was just going to say. You're basically there to make sure all of your agents have the ability to wake up and go to work and focus on their job.
I'm the chief.
Not worrying about all the big picture and
right. I'm the chief brooming officer. I want to broom things out of your way. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So you can get to where you need to faster. That's the goal.
Okay. So you've made it pretty far up the food chain. Do you have goals above where you're at now that you might see yourself doing in the future?
There's some exciting things that will be announced shortly that are in the final phases. I think I'm done acquiring or expanding, and I'm just going to go deeper into the network of offices and agents I lead now.
Okay.
The best thing I've ever done is become a father, and so Gemma made me a dad 3 years ago with my beautiful wife Haley, and so doubling down on that, because if there's no legacy to enjoy and I'm not healthy to enjoy it, there's no real point.
Yeah.
I also am in the works of creating a leadership academy. I think we're lacking leadership development, and I'm not knocking this industry. I love this industry, but I think there's some things that we can bring to the industry that will help everybody as a whole. So that's kind of my next passion project is what would it look like if we had a leadership academy and a studio space where we could do interviews and leadership development. We were talking about that before the show.
Yep.
Across the entire network of KW offices I'm a part of. So
beautiful. Let's get into some more, what I'm going to say is fun stuff.
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier you are a leader. You are there to fix problems, take complaints. Let's talk about it, man. What are some of the best, craziest, funniest, weirdest, wildest things that you have come across, whether it be on your own deals or just a call you had to take and smooth out?
Yeah. I've been thinking about that since you planted that. And I think one of the best ones, I'll have two that come to mind quickly. Number one was I had a broker call us, and he was representing the listing. He was also the broker of the brokerage. And he wanted us to make an offer, and he liked the Corvette that the buyers pulled up in. So he wanted us to make a lower offer, but include the Corvette in the offer. And so that was an interesting one because the buyers weren't prepared to walk away from their Corvette.
Everything's negotiable too. I mean,
yeah. So the deal ultimately did not go forward. We looked at it from all angles, and the buyers just emotionally, the vet was special to them. It was a 70. It was early 70s. Anyway, so that was an interesting one, and I had never seen that before, so that was pretty cool. That was like 7-8 years ago, and they went in a different direction with the purchase of the property. Another one was when they closed on the home, and we get a phone call, and the agent says, "We have an issue," and I go, "Okay, great, let's do it. What's the issue?" Well, we didn't get to do a final walkthrough inspection like the contract states. We closed anyways because my clients were we were trying to get the deal done. Shouldn't have done that. I go, "What's up?" Well, I went there today to do key exchange and do a walkthrough on behalf after it's been closed 6 days. Yeah. Furnace gone, hot water gone, copper cut, piping gone, but there was no sign of break and entry to the property. So yeah, so that one is actually still a TBD. We're gonna see where that one ultimately goes. Yeah, it's in the attorney's hands now. But so that's interesting because obviously the lesson there is why aren't we doing the final walkthrough if it's in the contract?
Right.
And we have these things in our contract for a reason, right? Yeah. It's to protect who?
Amen.
Your clients and you.
Yeah.
And so now ultimately we're working through that one. So we'll see where that goes. Oh, one other one. We had an agent show up to tour our property, and we got the phone call that the Mrs. seller was there with neighbor 4 doors down the street, not realizing that showings were opened up for that Wednesday afternoon, and Mr. Seller was on a business trip. So they were upstairs.
I know where this is going.
Yeah, they were upstairs, and that was quite awkward. There was music blasting, and they didn't quite hear that people had let themselves in. Yep. And so that was an interesting one when we had to talk about when we were giving our showing feedback.
Yeah.
I told my agent to maybe that we would call the broker and handle that a professional way. So
right. Like I don't want to be the one to
I don't
tell
want
you,
to be the one, man, but
I got to do my job.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Those are just some off the top of my head. If I had an hour, I could give you 20 more.
Absolutely. But those are great. What's one thing buyers should know, being realistic, that people aren't telling them in this market right now in the past few years? I feel like what's something that they should know ahead of time? Maybe it's the hard truth. Maybe it's something that they need to know versus want to know.
Yeah. I'd say two things. Number one, you'll never regret buying a piece of real estate you can hold on to. So what I mean by that is a lot of people are coming to me saying, "Is it a good time to buy? Should I buy? It's so expensive." You're buying at the top of a moment. I'll acknowledge that maybe.
And if any of what you're about to explain has something to do with the information that you brought, feel free to grab it and we'll put it up on the screen for everybody. And
yeah, so the one here. The one here is the home prices chart, and a lot of buyers will say, "I'm buying and it's the most expensive. Like it's too expensive. It's overpriced," and it may be the top of the moment, but it's never the top of the market. And here's what I always say to them: I say, "Okay, Mr. Buyer, Mrs. Buyer," and if they're in their 20s, I'll say, "Talk to your parents about this." Yeah. But if you could go back to 2006, before the 2008 recession. Yep. Would you buy as many pieces of property as you possibly could? And every single time, if you show them this chart, they say, absolutely, because it's more than doubled since, right? Yep. And so if real estate, if it just appreciates at 4%, it doubles every 18 years. So you have a hard asset, an asset that appreciates. You have to live somewhere. Okay, you only have to come up with between 0 and 25% down, depending on the type of property. And
but John, I want to wait until these rates come back down. That's what my folks are telling. That's what people are saying. Wait until the rates come back down and then buy.
Yeah. So let's say that the rates come down to 5%. They're roughly 6.5 right now, right? Let's say they come down to 5%, and so you're going to be saving $150 on your mortgage on a typical mortgage. Let's say $150 a month. You just lost out. if that takes 2 to 3 years to happen, which
we don't know, crystal ball, it could never happen.
There's no crystal ball and it could never happen. Then you're going to wait 2 to 3 years to save $150 a month. So let's call it $2,000 a year to do what? Lose out on that, buy that home for another $30,000 more.
Bingo. So
your waiting time, your opportunity time is just diminished because you were trying to save $150 a month when you should purchase, especially if you're going to be in that place 3 to 7 years. I mean, that's a no-brainer.
Yep.
And you can always refi later if you have to.
Right.
Okay. Or look at rates at the time. So it's always a good time to buy real estate. No one ever regrets buying the real estate. They regret having to sell.
Yeah.
There's a big difference. No one wants to have to sell.
Right.
So that's the second piece of advice. Maybe it's not in the ideal spot that you want to be forever. I'm not asking you to find a piece of property to be there forever.
Yeah.
I want you there 2 to 5 years. I want you to dip your toe into the equity market so you can start to get the gains that are necessary for the next home. You'll never get to the forever home if you don't have a starter opportunity.
Yeah. It's
so that's
almost
the other thing we had on.
like a guaranteed investment. Basically, it's going to go up. Even like you said, if it dips, just wait. It's coming right back.
If you can hold it through the ups and downs, you will not regret buying it. It's you always regret having to sell it. There's a big difference.
Yeah, I was just talking to a buddy at a golf outing the other day. Same situation. My first house was in Harper Woods. His was St. Clair Shores, and we both wish, like, man, I wish I could have kept that house at the time. Could I have afforded to keep that and then buy the house I'm in now? Because, man, we would have made a killing on that.
In 2016, my wife and I bought a condo. I was first looking at homes, but we bought a condo. Rates were 4.5%. I bought it for it was listed for 115. We bought it for 112. I was told at the time, and I want to mind you, by social media, not experts,
right,
by friends and family, not experts. I was told at the time that the rates 4.5 was a little too high, and that the condo was overpriced. Today, it's worth $225.
Yep.
I have great renters in there, and I did a cash out refi, and I'm at 5.5. Right, so. Yeah. It's all relative, and it's whatever you can withstand or withhold, I guess is my point. And so get into the market, start. Because if not, you're going to look up and it's going to be another 5 years and you still haven't bought.
Yep. And another common misconception for those of you out there, I still hear it, is I don't have 20% to put down on a house. You don't need 20%, guys.
That's right.
You don't need it. You can get in as low as 3% on a conventional, 3.5 FHA. Stop waiting. Just like you said, if you can comfortably get in, get in.
Well, what I would say on that, James, because you spread up a great point. So let's just say 10% as an average. Let's just say, for this example's sake, let's say you're looking at a $300,000 home. If you're listening to this right now, make a list of all the people that will lend you $300,000 right now. I'll wait. You can put it in alphabetical order if you want. Okay, let's just say they'll give you 30 grand.
Yep.
You can take 30 years to pay it back at 7% interest. Make a list.
Yep.
Yet, when we talk about, that's your mortgage product. There's 4 types of debt in this country. There's credit card, student, home, and auto. The home debt is the only one that you can completely write off. So there's a mortgage interest deduction benefit to it. That you only need 10% roughly. You just mentioned 3.5% as low as. That you put towards the total purchase price. How much are you paying in credit cards a month? How much is your auto loan? How much is your student debt? And I'm not knocking it. I get it. Life's expensive. There's debt. But this is the one piece of debt that will help you build wealth long term. It's sustainable. It's scalable across your family, across your security, and across being, kind of happier and healthier. So between those 4 debts, it's the best debt to have. And you can always refi it later or look into 15 years or other programs if you want to consolidate it faster.
Yep.
So... Very passionate about that. And that's,
I know you are.
This chart, I also brought today for you a chart of over 50 years of mortgage data. And for our viewers, as it's on the screen here, you're looking at, the last 15 years from like 2008 to 2020, we got what's called the real estate gift, right? Of 3.5% interest rates. But the average for the last 35 years is 6%. And the last 50 years is 7.75%.
Yeah.
We're at 6.5 right now. So we're right where the long-term average is going to be. I don't see it coming down anytime soon.
Nope.
Until home prices fall drastically, which I don't see happening. There's no reason for them to lower rates.
Yeah. And a lot of the stuff that you guys see on social media and on the news is just, I don't want to call it scare tactics, but it's just, clickbait. They just show you a a chunk of that chart that you just saw, and it's the one that makes things look like 6% is terrible. It's not.
Right.
You know, you just got to get your information from reliable sources like John Reusch.
Thank you.
You going to write a book? You do that yet?
I actually have 6 chapters already written on
a
leadership development book and about self-authorship. So yeah, it's in the progress. It's in process.
Perfect. And one other thing I want to talk to you about or ask you just, for fun is if you could build your dream house, talk me through it. What does it look like? What style?
Yeah. So I'm in my mid-30s with a growing family. So I think a colonial right now makes a lot of sense. Or like the one I am in, it's a sprawling ranch with one upstairs, like a bungalow, which I really love. So probably that style.
Yeah.
I would love to have an outdoor kitchen, man. I smoke different meats and I have 2 smokers at home, but nothing's built into, an outdoor area. So I'd love if I could wave a wand outdoor wise, I'd have a deck for entertaining.
Yep.
And then I'd have probably 2 smokers built in, an outdoor grill, and then probably a pizza oven.
I was just, you're describing one of my best friend's cabin up by West Branch.
Yeah.
It is awesome.
I love that. I would love to have a dedicated golf simulator and like workout area. I kind of have a
How much land?
Hodgepodge of that right now.
A few acres at least?
Yeah, I mean, currently right now I'm on 12, and I wouldn't go less than that.
Nice.
I'm very blessed. My wife and I are blessed with that. So definitely land. And the other thing that would be a lot of fun is I would love to have, my wife and I love movies.
Yep.
And so it'd be really cool to have a movie theater set up with, 8 seats, like legit, right?
Yeah.
This is if I had money to just write checks
again,
for.
Yeah, this is hypothetical,
So
dream home.
That would be a lot of fun. So outdoor space to entertain, golf simulator, workout space, and then a movie theater would be a lot of fun. So it's on the wish list one day.
Beautiful. Yeah. How about future family? Had you had a number in your head how many kids you want?
Well, my wife and I, like I said, blessed with our one daughter, Gemma.
How'd you get in? Here's this funny for the viewers that don't know either of us personally. How did you come up with that name? The Gemma Bell.
Yeah, so my wife looks like Belle from Beauty and the Beast. She has the same nose, the same hair. She loves animals. So I always made a joke that if she was a Disney princess, she'd be Belle. Anyways, when she was pregnant, we found out it was a girl. I'm an Italian heritage. My grandma came over from Italy at 16 to start a new life here. And so Gemma has some French influence, but Gemma, there's an Italian type. We were looking at Juliana and Julia.
So it's not a Sons of Anarchy.
No, that's what everyone always asks. Yeah. So no, we went with Gemma Bell because it just sounds great.
Yeah. It's similar. Because how old is she? About five?
She's 3.
3? I know. Yes. Yeah. So our youngest, Emma Bell. It's wild that it's so similar because we were just at that point, we've exhausted the names that we knew we wanted or knew she wanted. And then she's just throwing out names one after another. And she did back to back, like, what about Emma? What about Belle? And it clicked in my head. Just like, it sounds so nice. I'm like, Emma Bell. There it is, man.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
We love it. And she's got 2 Belle dresses that she wears on repeat all the time.
Yep.
So
my daughter, she sleeps in dresses, wakes up, tries 17 on throughout the day.
Yeah.
We love it. It's great. Let's talk about stuff, buyers and sellers, mistakes that they're making, especially like on the listing side. What is something that you can walk in and talk to people about that may not be a comfortable conversation, but it's going to be for their benefit?
Yep. So a lot of buyers, when they walk in through that front door or whatever door they're entering, but typically the front door, it needs to be clean. It needs to be decluttered. It needs to feel welcoming. And I think too often sellers don't declutter enough in that first room, right? Some stat from NAR is like 85% of buyers decide if they want the home based on the first room they walk in and the kitchen. And so the mistake I'm seeing is sellers not decluttering. Family photos really should be put away. You don't know you don't know who's coming into your house. You don't know what people's motives are in 2026. So I would say that's the first thing. And then secondly, people like to see their own version of the home in their head. So if it's got a yellow wall or a red floor, you got to try and get more neutral on that. Whether staging is the way to accomplish that, or sometimes spending a few grand to paint it more neutral is worth it because it could pay you 15, 20, 30 grand more in return later on.
Now, on the opposite hand, that's a benefit, something that you can get a good ROI on. What's something that you're seeing people talk about or doing or wanting to do that you're like, no, don't spend the money on that?
Yeah. So I would say that if you're putting a lot of money into like the garage, putting a lot of money into a deck, like you're not gonna see the return you think you're going to on that. Buyers are going to want to make it their own anyways,
Yep.
right? So like don't fix the deck if it needs fixing. Reflect that typically in the purchase price, right? Yeah, so I would say anything like that's outdated, if you're trying to get maximum price, you're either going to have to make the investment to update it or reflect that in the price itself. But typically like deck, the garage, even bathrooms, we're not seeing the same return on that investment that we were maybe a decade ago. Obviously a full bath with a shower and all that stuff, yes.
Right. But
like the half baths and stuff, people are going in and before they move in, they're putting in new toilet seats and they're doing some stuff anyway. So I don't know. I'm a big believer in like the simple stuff, like the front porch, the planters you have, the pictures you have, the paint. It's the P's of real estate.
Okay.
If you just address those with nominal income, you're going to probably get what the fair market value of the home should be.
Okay, fair enough. And that does make perfect sense. I held an open house a couple weekends ago in Grosse Pointe, little condo, and what you said is exactly what one of the potential buyers came through. And that was her issue, is she was standing in the living room and kind of just taking it all in. And the realtor I was with was kind of just asking, hey, what are you thinking? What do you go? She goes, I'm having a really hard time picturing what it would look like with my stuff here.
Yeah.
And that was just kind of the same complaint about it. It wasn't even really that cluttered, just normal sofa, nice TV stand. And you would think that, again, this goes, everybody's different. In my mind, I can just see an empty room. Not everyone can do that.
So one of the things that we've built at Lakeside is an AI tool that will be launched here in the next 60 days, where if you're working with your buyers and that's what they're saying, you can actually describe to the tool what the living room would look like. And then ahead of time, you can pull the listing tickets off, upload it in, and then we can actually have true renditions of what their home might look like. So whether it's before or on the tour or even after, you can give that to your buyers and say, this is what that could look like.
Really? So you can, like putting their furniture in that room type of deal?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So it's proprietary to Lakeside and cannot wait to roll it out.
Doing some fun stuff.
So close. We are so close to launching it. But yeah, for what you just said, imagine if that agent was able to turn to the buyer right then and there and say, you know what? I actually remember when I asked you to send your couch or this or that. Here you go. Here's what it would look like if you stood right here. That's what your living room would look like. So again, is that going to be a deal maker versus breaker? I don't know. I just think that's another service that a Zillow, for example, is not going to be able to offer, right?
Yeah, another tool in the tool belt to use to... Yeah.
It's a relationship-based agent using a technology tool to differentiate him or herself from the competition.
Wonderful. What are some other things that you see or foresee that you're most excited about in this business?
Oh, good question. Most excited about, you know what? The NAR changes a couple years back, it felt a little bit like Chicken Little, skies falling.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's actually been good for the industry overall. I really do.
How so? What do you think?
I'm not the biggest fan of compensation being taken from MLS.
Right.
That I'm not a fan of.
I can agree.
For a lot of reasons. But it's opened up communication. It's the buyer's agent talking to the listing agent. It's kind of working for that commission,
people
right?
to make those phone calls.
Yeah, it's not just assumed anymore that compensation's coming from one or the other. So I would say that what's coming, I think AI is going to disrupt a lot of models that have not embraced technology. What I just described about staging, I mean, that's easy with AI today. I mean,
that's crazy that's easy. Yeah.
Right. That's easy though, right? I mean, someone on their own without building their own technology could do that in Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini.
Yep.
So I would say that I was at a conference last year, James, and they said that over the next 5 years, 50% of your front end employees, like welcoming people or front end staff, are going to be robots. One out of every
in our
two
industry or across the board,
across all industries. One out of every two entry level, like front end, is going to be robot.
Wow.
So, and they actually said on the stage, they said that this is the last generation of CEO that is managing an entire human workforce. So just think about that for a second. All right, this isn't MLS change of 3 copies push hard, right? Carbon copies, and we're moving now to a electronic. This is an ecosystem where bots, robots, and AI are working right alongside humans, and that's I Am Legend stuff in my head. That's scary, but it's here.
Yeah,
it's here. So you ask what's coming.
That's what you're most excited about, see the extent of what this can turn into. And
I don't know if excited's the right word. I'm anxious, nervous, apprehensive, but it's what's coming. And I think it's something that we are grossly underprepared for as a country, really.
Yeah.
So I would say that, it's not too late to start really understanding some of these models, understanding how, right now there's robots that can go 7 hours without a single charge, and they're agentic, meaning you show them once, a robot can train a robot now. And they can lift up to 35 pounds. And so they're being used all over the country. So think about that.
Yeah.
What's keeping unions in place right now is it's the 8-hour workday. It's right. They don't take time off. They don't go on vacations. And as those batteries improve and you have robots training robots, does the factory ever shut down?
Jesus.
That's coming. I
know. It's kind of crazy.
So when you ask me what am I most, that's like asking what's the meaning to life. It gets kind of like, man, I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know.
Wow.
Are we going to have virtual sets where we're doing tours in our own brokerages or at home? Just like everyone pays their monthly MLS, is everyone going to pay a monthly subscription to some cloud-based virtual? Probably.
Yeah.
I would think that's coming.
Yeah. Boy, oh boy.
You already have people buying things sight unseen or over FaceTime, right?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Yeah. And everybody's already got the VR goggles and the headsets doing crazy stuff. And never thought we'd get here in our lifetimes, man, but holy cow.
Now, for it to work at scale and to be 50% of the population, that I think is going to take longer.
Yeah.
Right?
Everyone to adapt to it. And
Tesla self-driving cars are only, I don't think they're improved in all 50 states yet.
Right.
And they had predicted that by 2025 it would be. So there's always policy and people that delay progress. That's the 3 Ps.
Yeah.
Not PPP from COVID. It's policy and people that delay progress.
Yep. Well, John, we're wrapping up here. Thank you so much for your time and the knowledge that you're sharing with me and everybody out there. And for anybody that wants to connect with you or come talk to you about joining your brokerage, what's the best way to get at you?
Yeah, you can just shoot me an email at jon@kwlakeside.com or give us a call at Keller Williams Lakeside. And we'd love to have a conversation, whether it's confidential or public, around your goals and how we can help you get there, because when you win, we win. Beautiful.
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate your time. This has been The Closing Table. I'm James Lutz with Mortgage One Keystone. And special thank you again to John. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you too, James. Thanks for the invite. Good
My
luck.
pleasure.